Okay, here we go. This is a video, an instruction video on how to change the traction control cable on a John Deere JS63C lawnmower. I am not a professional videographer. This is one of my first videos I'm making for YouTube. I was looking for other YouTube videos on how to do this job. I couldn't find it at the time. Hopefully everything will work out all right. We'll take you step by step, and we'll also give some pointers and some lessons learned on what we have to do to get this job done. You can do it. If I could do it, you could do it. It's my first time ever doing this. I'm not a master mechanic. This is the part we're going to use. This is the GX21047 from John Deere. You can get this online, and there should be a link below on where you could get it, or a couple links on where you get this part. There is a GX cable that goes with a different year of this type mower, so you just have to be a little careful on which one you get. I just rolled the dice and got the cable. I took this cable off, I put them side by side, I measured them, I looked at the spring, it was the same spring, same kind of gauge wire, everything matched up, so I got lucky. If it wasn't going to fit or it was the wrong cable, I was just going to return and get the other one because I wasn't sure what year this lawnmower was. So with that said, let's begin. So the first thing I did was loosen this, I guess, cover. This is like the belt cover right here. And you have, I don't know if you can see it, but you have star, screws in there. You have a star screw there, star screw there. You got star screw over here, which I already took off, and a star screw over there, which I already took off. But I took these off. I just have to hold the nut on the other side and just take them off, and there they are. Okay, the two are still in there, and this is the bit I used. It was right there. I don't know if you can see that. You need a pair of needle nose, a screwdriver, and I think that's all you need. I think you're good to go with that. So the first thing we're going to do is obviously take the cover off. I'm going to take this cover off. Comes right off, and there we have a not so clean belt and transmission area, which I will clean that before I put it back all together. This is a good opportunity to clean that, get some dust off, make sure it's in proper working order. The next step is to remove the retaining ring on top of the pulley by placing a screwdriver in the slot and giving it a quarter turn. After that, step on the pulley as shown to loosen the tension on the belt to remove. And you go into your little spring clip here, and you just kind of work it out. Here you have your spring clip. You want to put this in a safe place. You don't want to lose this. To get the belt off, which will then release the tension so you can lift it up, you just press right here. You have to put pressure right here. So I put the pressure on there like that with my foot. Lift the belt up and let go. Now the belt is loose. I pull up on the wheel and it should come right up. And it does. And there you have another opportunity to clean this area here, because that's pretty nasty. Right here is the cable where you just squeeze and just push through, and that releases it. And then there's a little slit right here where you can slide the wire through. And this is how you get rid of the cable out of this area. So then once I have the new cable in here, I'll just show you how to put it back together. It shouldn't be that hard at all. One other tool you need is a little Allen key, about 5/32 on that screw there. And basically I'm just going to loosen this up and slide the wire out. It's very simple, not a big deal. Okay, so here we have the new cable getting ready to put on. Basically, real quickly, I just sprayed some WD-40, took an old toothbrush obviously, and I just kind of cleaned it, wiped it down with the rag, just to get all the, basically dirt, most of the dirt off. but you know, it never hurts to like clean it at this point. You know, you have it taken apart, you might as well. So here's a new cable. Basically, we're going to just slide it into the little gauge they have there and push it through, and bang, it's in. That's all it is. The next part, you just hook the spring, you know, right through the hole, nice and easy. I mean, this is so easy to do. Anybody can do it. Famous last words, right? Okay, so we just basically rethreaded the cable up to here, put the eyelet on. I'm actually missing this one piece, but I have to get it on there. You see this on this end? This little piece right there? I'm missing that. So my eyelet every now and then would pop off. So I have to find that one little piece or just get creative and kind of make it stay on there somehow. Alright. After that, I'm going to basically reattach this and the wire underneath it, put the screw in. Okay, so for right now, that's on there. The eyelet, nice and sturdy, brand new cable running through all the way down to that spring. The action on here's very nice. Pull it up, pull it down. Got nice spring tension on there. You can feel the difference already. And now we're just going to put the cover back on. And then the next shot is going to be pulling them, you know, just starting it up. Okay? So that's all there is to it, really. That was pretty easy. It took a little time, but nothing you can't do. You could do this in a heartbeat, no problem. Alright, but the final test is when we start it and actually engage it. And if it needs to be adjusted, I have to adjust it and go from there. Another little tip, when you start putting the covers on over here, and you have to put the flap on underneath, put the screws on and everything, it's a lot easier to do it with a little crate underneath on the back of it. This way you can reach up with the nose pliers, hold the nut, screw it in on both sides, and you're good to go. Last tip. On your cover right here, you have a little slot. These are where the two cables go that are coming down right here and actually meet right over here. So you just make sure those two cables are together in this hole and you're good to go. Alright, this is going to be lessons learned. I pulled it out of the garage to start it just as a test, and I noticed something was just a little off. This right here, the pull cord, had a vibration in it, and it was going back and forth a lot. And I was like, something's wrong, something's not right. I don't know what it is. I cut off the mower, and you know, I checked everything. Everything looked fine. And then I tilted it up, and I looked underneath. Underneath, the belt had come loose from the pulley wheel. So it was off the pulley wheel. So that was a lesson learned, that we just, when you see this, don't think everything's all right. You got to make sure the other wheel on the inside underneath the mower is also okay, and the belt is properly aligned with that one as well. That was a lesson. Okay, the JS63 cable is now complete. Everything's cool with it. Looks good. It works. I started it. It moves. The cover's on perfectly. One thing you have to watch, you make sure your cables are, these two cables are on the outside. Make sure they don't go underneath. The only cables going underneath are these two cables right here, and there's a little notch in the back, notched out of the cover. That's about it. That's all I got for now. This is a video on changing a cable on the JS63 John Deere lawnmower. It's hot in here. But you know what? Lesson 1. Stay cool.